Hi there, Pat Croce here, and welcome to the American Cancer Society's HEALed Community Gathering. HEALed, for your information, represents health and energy through active living every day. And for the next hour, we're going to entertain you, educate you, inform you, and inspire you to live your life to the fullest in the present moment. And presently, I'd like to thank 6ABC as our media sponsor, all 30 of our leadership partners who helped me raise the $2 million for the HEALed research conducted at ACS headquarters in Atlanta, and all of you who've gone to acshealed.com, made a donation, whether it's $5 or $5,000, and in return, we give you this gorgeous little bracelet gift with the one green bead that signifies harmony, healing, and the unity. We're all in this together. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before we get started, I like to have and rest in the present moment with a moment of stillness. And we do that just by the ringing of this little Tibetan bell. Just place your awareness, your attention on the sound. Welcome. Now we're all in this space together. That sound signifies to let the past be the past and just rest in the present. Just allow your curiosity, your awareness, your availability, your vulnerability, your courage, your love to just be together in this 1 hour of sacred space. And I guarantee you will get touched within the hour. But this week we have as our guest, Dr. Jeannie Suebach, who's been on a regular basis once a month. Jeannie provides such great nutritional information. So if you have a question, please post it on YouTube or Facebook. And Diana, our director of HEALed here in the Philadelphia region, and I would like to also thank all the people from American Cancer Society's Philadelphia region who really have put their efforts and attention into launching the HEALed Community Gathering. And I'd like to also thank a special thanks to Scott Sill. I don't thank him enough. Scott is our producer by day. He volunteers his time, but his real job is he's an instructor at University of Penn's Wharton School of Business and a consultant to all the bright entrepreneurs of the world. And thank you, Scotty. And he's the one that makes this possible, because otherwise you would be seeing silent blackness. Our first guest today is Dr. Jeannie Suebach. She's a nutritionist. She is at the Department of Nutrition at Westchester University. She's been a consultant to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Philadelphia 76ers. My old company, Sports Physical Therapy, she started out as one of my patients and has provided me with education and information on the latest trends of nutrition. And I thought from the beginning that Jeannie would be a wonderful guest. And overwhelmingly, of all the guests we have, the most emails and texts come from Dr. Jeannie Soubach's appearances. So once again, Dr. Jeannie Suebach, welcome.
Hey, Pat, how are you?
Great, Jeannie. I'm great. And last time you were on, last month, you concentrated on ancient grains and winter veggies. And the time before that was probiotics and prebiotics. And before that were a variety of protein sources. But today, what is today all about?
Today is soup day. You know that I have an obsession with soup because I talk about soup every week. And we're going to talk about how soup can nourish us, how it is healing, and how we can get all the great nutrients that we need for overall healthy eating, cancer prevention, building our body up. So we're going to talk about the power of soup.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. I love the idea of the topic, the power of soup. So why do you infer that it has power?
Just to the ingredients. So look at my shirt, Pat. You always my shirt. Okay. Let food be my medicine.
Medicine. So did Socrates say that, or is that just a...
Oh, no, he said that. That was his belief. That was
Wow.
his belief. And I truly believe that food has medicinal purposes. The caretaker that's making the food for you has powers for healing. And I'm going to say, you ask me why I think it's powerful. I'm going to tell you a little story. As you know, my husband, John, is a prostate cancer survivor. And as anybody with cancer, you get nervous about prognosis. And he had his surgery, came home from the hospital. And the first thing that I fed him was chickpea noodle soup, because we had a conversation about how important nutrition is for healing. And we said, you know what, there's a lot of good research on plant-based nutrition and fighting cancer. Let me back up, Pat. You know, my definition of plant-based is following the food pyramid, majority fruits, vegetables, whole grains. I do believe that you can have a small amount of animal protein to have a plant-based diet and still get all the magical properties. So I fed him this chickpea noodle soup, which is made with a vegetable broth, onions, carrots, celery, and then some chickpeas. And he ate it and he said, this is fabulous. I can do this. Mm-hmm. So when you make a soup, normally you make a soup and it's anything in the refrigerator gets put in it. And it is so easy. It's a great way to get the vegetables. And we know that we want, the majority of our diet coming from fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. So to me, if I make a vegetable soup, I'm getting everything that I need. Plus I'm getting that aroma, having fun shopping, and I'm sharing it with others.
So where is the protein in your chickpea noodle soup?
The protein in my chickpea noodle soup comes from the chickpeas.
And what exactly are chickpeas?
Chickpeas are garbanzo beans. Where's my garbanzo beans? These are dried garbanzo beans, and that's what make hummus. Everyone likes hummus.
Oh, yeah.
You do hummus, and that's where the chickpea comes from. You can take the chickpea, you can roast them and season them. That's a really great snack, but I like to have them in my chickpea noodle soup.
Do you have to cook them before you put them in your broth?
So this is a dried bean, and yes, the dried bean you would have to, but honestly, I use the canned beans, and that's for convenience. You do rinse them, so you're rinsing the sodium off. And this recipe, Pat,
Jeannie, stay there 1 second, because this is just a question that maybe someone else has. What would be the difference between the canned chickpeas and just your fresh available chickpeas?
It's the sodium content. If you rinse the beans, it can be you can reduce the sodium by about 25%. So the ones that you're going to be making, the dry ones, which require soaking and cooking. But if you've never had a fresh bean, it's worth the time. But for convenience, we do use the canned beans, but we drain them and then we rinse them, and that does reduce the sodium content.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But Pat, this is such an easy soup. And this soup, it's onions and your celery and carrots. And that is called, Pat, a mirepoix, right?
What?
A mirepoix, okay? A mirepoix is a combination of onions, carrots, and celery in a proportion of 50% onions, 25% carrots, and 25% celery. It's a little bit more celery up here, okay? And I tell you that because this is the basis for almost any soup that you're going to make.
Okay, say that proportion again, just so now we know that this is the basis of your souping. The basis of the soup, it's 50% onion, 25% carrots, and 25% celery. Okay, so that's what almost all the soups that you're going to make will have this mirepoix in it. Now, right? Does the mirepoix provide the fiber in the soup? Because it appears with the carrots and the celery, you're getting good.
Oh, sure. Well, we look at this. We look at the carrots. That's that beta carotene, and we look at the celery and the onions, also other nutrients in the fiber. So yes, this is the starting point of the flavor and the fiber. It's also called the aromatics, because when you saute them, you're going to put a little oil in the pan, just a little, maybe about a tablespoon. You're going to saute them until they become translucent, or you can sweat them. You're exploding the flavors. Then you want to put your garlic, where's my garlic? Well, I have garlic. Oh, here it is. Then you want to put your garlic, okay? My key is please don't burn your garlic. Please, please, please. If you burn your garlic, I'm going to make you start again because there's nothing worse than burnt garlic. It tastes bitter. Put your garlic in, and then you're going to put your spices in. My favorite is fresh thyme, okay? You can use dried thyme if you want, but there's just something about taking this little guy and just kind of taking it off, smelling it. Can you smell that? You can smell that too. Smelling that, yeah, you can smell it. So you're going to put your fresh thyme, and then you're going to put a bay leaf, okay? And then you're going to put different spices. Italian seasoning is common. That's your oregano, your basil, your rosemary. You're going to put a little salt, a little kosher salt, put that in there, and then you're going to get creative. So you get your base, okay? So let's start.
All that was your base. All that was your base. Review the base again, just so we.
My base: tiny bit of oil in the pan, your mirepoix, the seasonings of choice that you want to put in there, and then you're going to put your broth or your water. So if I am making a vegetable soup, I am probably going to use a vegetable broth. Okay, comes in the supermarket, and you're going to put a vegetable broth. So you start with your mirepoix, your spices. Then you're going to put your vegetable broth. Then you're going to determine what you want to do. Okay. So these, Pat.
Uh-oh, she's got her basket.
Okay, here's my basket. Every kitchen should always have your onion, your carrots, and your celery. Always have to have that.
Your Mirepoix.
Yep, the Mirepoix. Excellent. Then you're going to have your garlic. And you can take a shortcut. You can buy the minced garlic if you like. Rachel Ray will not like you, but you can do that, okay? Then you're going to determine what do you want to put on it. So one of my favorite soups is my cabbage potato soup. And with my cabbage potato soup, of course, I have my head of cabbage. So I take my cabbage, I cut it, I shred it, wash it. I put that in at the end. But then I put my potatoes, okay? I take my potatoes, I peel them, I put them in, and then I might want to put some spinach in. And if you don't have fresh spinach, you can put frozen spinach. But the secret to the ending of the soup is normally going to be fresh parsley. And I learned that from my husband's grandmother. Grammy Chesla said, the secret to good soup is fresh parsley on the end.
At the very end.
At the very end. Okay, because it's delicate. You want to put it on the end. So that's what you're going to be doing for that. Other things that you can do are things like ginger. Ginger, number one, smells incredible. We make a fantastic carrot ginger soup.
Who's
and all
we?
The Ram Chefs, by the way. The Ram Chefs.
So just give us a brief description of the Ram Chefs as we sit here.
So the Ram Chefs are a group of young adults with developmental disabilities. They come to the campus of Westchester University on Wednesdays and now Fridays. We're expanding to Fridays. And they work with, in my foods lab with my nutrition students, and they learn how to cook. We have a cookbook. We have sweatshirts, just a great group of people because they are learning cooking independence. And they are super chefs. They love carrot ginger soup, which is the vegetable broth. It is carrots, it's ginger, the mirepoix, and you whoosh it up in a food processor, and you put a little bit of coconut milk in. That's that secret ingredient. And look at the beta carotene. Look at the fiber you're getting from that. So that is the carrot ginger soup. So we have our base, and then we're going to get creative. You can put things in like the chickpeas, the beans. One of my favorite that I do is the small white bean. Now, I know everybody can't do beans. So if you don't do beans, you can put other vegetables. But I love these small white beans. The texture is amazing. So you can do that. It is canned. So I will take it. I will rinse it and drain it, put it in. Or don't be afraid of good old chicken noodle soup. Okay? chicken noodle soup. We know, we love it. And
I love chicken noodle soup. Diane makes great chicken noodle soup.
It is. So here's another thing. We talk about fast food. 2 weeks ago, my father-in-law was coming for lunch. I didn't have a lot in the house. And I thought, just order something. No, I'm not going to order something. Went into the kitchen. Within 30 minutes, I made chicken noodle soup using a low sodium chicken broth, my Mirepoix, because I always have it in there. And then I had some chicken breasts. I threw that in, put some noodles. I happened to have fresh parsley, put it in. He said, this is the best thing ever. Until he came the next week. And the next week I made my chicken noodle soup, but I had my whole chicken. And I had fun with my butcher knife, chopped up my whole chicken, put it in there, let it simmer, put the noodles in. Now that's a chicken noodle soup.
So, Jeannie, I got to tell you, Diane's chicken noodle soup, she found gluten-free noodles for me.
Oh, good.
Just as good. You wouldn't even know the difference. You wouldn't know the difference, and it was fabulous.
It is. It's good for the soul. I mean, there's books, chicken noodle soup for the soul, and so like I said, Pat, it's so healing. It is so healing. This, the chickpea noodle soup uses nutritional yeast, and that's a product that people might not be familiar with.
What is that again?
It's nutritional yeast, and it's a yeast. It's not active, but it has a cheesy flavor. A lot of vegetarians, vegans will use it. Not a great source of protein, but it gives it the flavor. So that's something I always have in there. Canned tomatoes, a basis for a lot of different soups. Last week, I made 3 different types of soups. I made the chicken noodle soup. I made a tomato soup. And it was a Tuscan bread tomato soup. Incredible. Starts with your crushed tomatoes. Probably the easiest thing you can do, tomato soup. Then I made some split pea soup. And this was so good that this is all that was left from 2 days ago. This is what my husband saved me.
So how thick is your split pea soup? Can you stick your...
This is very thick, but you're gonna put water in it. You're gonna dilute it.
Or you can just put your spoon in, it stands up.
Yeah. You can do that, but I like to add a little water. Now Pat, let's talk about this. A lot of these split pea soups will have ham in it. We know American Cancer Society guidelines, we don't want to do a lot of processed meats. And we do know that as delicious as ham is a processed meat. So what we do is we make it and we use liquid smoke. Okay? Liquid smoke gives it that smoky flavor without the bad things coming from the ham. And split peas are something they do not need to be soaked before cooking. So this is a wonderful thing. So the split pea soup, lentil soup does not have to be cooked. We make an awesome vegetable lasagna soup. Wonderful.
Wait. Vegetable lasagna soup. What is that? What ingredients are there?
So vegetable lasagna soup.
Being half Italian, I know what lasagna is. You're going to take that clump of lasagna and throw it in a soup?
No, you're going to start with your Mirepoix, then you're going to put your red peppers, then you're going to put your red lentils, and then you have your tomato, crushed tomatoes and your tomato paste, vegetable broth. You put it in the pressure cooker, and then you put lasagna noodles in it. Then you take it out, and then you can the vegans put the tofu ricotta. The regular people just put the regular ricotta cheese in. It's awesome. I will send Diane the recipe and she'll get the gluten-free noodles.
I don't know that soup. That's good.
Oh, incredible. Incredible.
Jeannie, with regard to soups, general information for us relative to calories, weight reduction, healing for cancer patients. Your husband was a prime example. Experientially, he saw the benefits. Give us some of the data points.
So I think that the one concern people have is the sodium content of soup. You hear that a lot. And yes, it's going to have, so I'm looking at my vegetable broth here, 140 milligrams of sodium. And that's not a lot, okay? You can have up to, 2,300 milligrams a day. But typically soups can be a little bit higher in sodium. So that's when you have to look at the whole day. So eat relatively low sodium the rest of the day. So have my breakfast, the oats, the blueberries, the flaxseed. If you have that soup, pair it with a beautiful salad, maybe a lean sandwich. Calorie-wise, it can be extremely low, unless you get into the soups that we don't want you to have, the cream soups. That's
okay, so because this was going to be one of my questions for you. What soups, because soup sounds like the panacea of health and harmony and healing, all of a sudden, though, it could be a negative.
So a French onion soup with the clop of bread and all of that beautiful cheese out of it, that's an occasional soup. That's a once a year soup. Enjoy it, put it away. All right. Cream of potato soup, delicious, loaded with bacon. That's half a year. You don't want things like that, but you can get creamy soups like a squash puree, a sweet potato soup, that cauliflower soup. A couple of weeks ago, I made a cauliflower soup. Incredible. So you can take your winter vegetables and make soups that are creamy without all the fat. Okay. Cream of asparagus soup. I have an incredible cream of asparagus soup that is vegetable broth and asparagus and spices.
So where's the cream come from?
It has almonds in it. You put the almonds. You put the I'm sorry, not almonds, cashews. You put the cashews in it, and that gives it the creamy flavor. So cream soups with the fat, no, very, very high in calories. Vegetable soups, relatively. My cabbage soup, my cabbage potato soup, that's an old dieter's dream. They would eat these cabbage soups. Why? Aids in elimination, hydrates you, fills you up. So, but I look at it and I see cabbage, I see potatoes, I see carrots, I see onions and celery. That's a win to me.
Okay, Dr. Jeannie Suebach, not everyone has the vivacious Dr. Jeannie Suebach in their kitchen that can make a healthy soup from raw material. What about canned soups?
So actually, a major soup company did some research, and they asked consumers to send in their recipe because people were so concerned about the sodium. And they found that the homemade recipes had more sodium than the canned soups in many ways. So I would say the same principle. If you are doing, and I tell my people, broth-based soups, the vegetable soups, not the creamy ones, the ones with beans. You can buy a beautiful lentil soup. You can buy a beautiful black bean soup. You can buy a chunky vegetable soup. Actually, Pat, there's research from Penn State University. Dr. Barbara Rolls, it's called volumetrics. And the principle is that if you have a diet that is high in volume, such as soup and vegetables, high water content, it fills you up more and the satiety goes. So I often, when I work with people, I say, start with a bowl of soup or end with a bowl of soup because it stretches your stomach and you're going to feel full longer.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful information. Jeannie, let's stop right there because I know questions are being generated. We're going to bring on our warrior guest, and then we'll bring you right back in.
Great.
Because you may have some questions for this guest.
Okay.
And obviously some advice, some great advice. Thank you, as always. Soups. So if you have questions on soups, Jeannie's going to be right back with us. We're only here until 12 o'clock Eastern time. Post your questions on Facebook or YouTube. Thanks, Jeannie.
See you in a little bit.
Our guest, our warrior, and this is quite a warrior, his name is Rich Kolodgie, and I've known Rich since high school. I haven't seen Rich much. He's 2 years older than I, and he was like one of the in crowd. He was a great football player. I remember that. His father was my freshman football coach. And Richie reached out to us as an advocate of the Healed Gathering and as a survivor himself and still undergoing clinical treatment for his diagnosis. And I'm going to bring Rich on. Rich Kolodgie. Come on, Rich.
Hey, Pat. Good to see you.
Great to see you, buddy. Great to see you. And I love that jacket you're wearing.
Thank you.
So, Richie, why don't you share with our audience your diagnosis and how it came about?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. Thank you, Pat. I really appreciate having the opportunity to be on here today. I wanted to really be on here to help people that are suffering from cancer and to let them know that you can actually live with cancer and still have a very productive and happy life. And that's been my story. I was misdiagnosed back in 2012, being treated for prostatitis, which is an infection of your bladder. And I was treated for it for almost a year and a half, and it wasn't going away, and it was getting worse. So I was fortunate enough to get into Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. I realized that I needed to get to a better place to find out what was going on. And what I found out within 10 days of getting with Johns Hopkins is that I had bladder cancer. And it was very aggressive bladder cancer.
Stay there. Let's stay, because this moment is really important. When you discovered or heard this information, what were your initial thoughts?
Scared. I was young. I mean, didn't expect this to happen. Been in good health. I've exercised my whole life, being a former athlete, as you mentioned, from high school. And I was shocked. It just came out of nowhere. And when you would ask questions like, well, what causes bladder cancer? There weren't a lot of good research answers around it. In fact, it's kind of jovial in a way. One of the connections they made is with processed meat and lunch meat. And I grew up eating lunch meat sandwiches my whole life. And I thought, oh my God, I got bladder cancer from eating lunch meat sandwiches. But I was scared to death. And they said, listen, it's contained in your bladder. And if it gets out, though, you're going to have a 20% chance of living. And our suggestion would be that we need to remove your bladder and your prostate so it doesn't get out. And I said, great. How soon can we do this? Let's go. How soon can you do the operation? Within about 10 days, they operated on me. It was successful. And they checked and had no cancer in my body. I was totally clean. They were convinced that it was nowhere else. And I was a happy guy. Although, you go through something like that and you have to wear a bag. That was a new experience, to wear a bag for my urine. But I learned to live with that pretty quickly. And life went on. And then every year I got tested. I would go back once a year and they would do a CAT scan and test me. And I went on for a good number of years. And then unfortunately, in December of 2019, when I got tested, it came back.
Oh.
And it came back big time. It came back in my lungs, in my groin, in my penis. They did not know why it resurfaced.
All within 1 year.
What's that, Pat?
All within 1 year, Rich, because the year prior you had none, and then all of a sudden the retest, they see it has metastasized.
Yeah, I had nothing from 2013 until 2019. And then it just appeared out of nowhere again in 2019, and it spread. It was throughout my body. And at that point I was very scared. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I engaged in a lot of treatments since then, which involved heavy chemo to start. That made it go away for just briefly for about a month or two. They mentioned to me that it was such an aggressive cancer that if it was going to come back, it would come back quickly. It did. And then I tried immune therapy as another way to combat this, and it actually made it worse. And then I went on another chemo drug, and that chemo drug worked for a little while, but it caused neuropathy, which is, for those that don't know, it affects your nerve endings. And I have pretty severe neuropathy in my feet and my hands. And, but that made it go away for a little while, and then it came back again. And then they put me through radiation treatments, and it went away again for a little while, never completely went away. And just recently, they put me in a clinical trial. And
when is this? When did this happen?
The clinical trial started 2 months ago.
Oh, wow. So you're bringing us very current.
This is live. So 2 months ago, I had an alternative. There was only one other FDA drug that I could take, or I could go into a clinical trial. And I asked my oncologist to make the decision for me, because I was challenged to decide, well, how do I decide between an FDA drug that's been approved or going into a trial that has no data or no information? How do I make that judgment? And he kindly helped me with a common sense solution and said, well, I would try the trial, because if the trial doesn't work, we can still fall back on the FDA drug. Brilliant. And I said, great, put me in the trial. So I wanted to bring you up to date from the story that I sent you last week I have some good news. The trial, I've only been on it for 2 months, and the results so far are absolutely tremendous. The doctor said to me, his first words to me were, "The results are remarkable."
Oh, how did you feel when you heard that?
Oh my goodness, I almost jumped out of my chair. Because I've been going through this for over 2.5 years. And I said, well, tell me what's going on here. And he said, well, your tumors have reduced 85% in size. And we biopsied the main tumor, the biggest tumor that you have.
And where is that?
Doesn't show any cancer.
And where is that biggest tumor?
That's in my groin, the left side of my groin. They went through a biopsy and did that. And I actually did the biopsy. I didn't have to, but I signed up for the biopsies with the clinical trial, because with the biopsy research, they can determine if what I have is hereditary. And I wanted to know about that for my children, for my kids, to make sure that this wasn't an hereditary thing. I will get those results a few years down the road, but the clinical trial will go on for a year. So I have 10 more months on the clinical trial.
And what is the clinical trial? Like, what happens with your body each week, month? What is that? Give us an example of, I don't know anyone presently in a clinical trial but you. So take us into your experience.
Yeah, thank you. So this particular clinical trial it takes an immune therapy drug, which they infuse in you the first day you start. But then for the next 27 days, you take chemo pills. Oh. So I don't have to go back and get infused every week, which I was going through for a long time with the chemo treatments. And fortunately, the pills that I'm taking don't bother me at all. I feel no side effect, nothing whatsoever from the pills that I take. And that's what it is. It's a clinical trial, was approved by the FDA to do this trial. There are 3 people from Johns Hopkins that are on it, and about 30 people that are on the trial from various hospitals around the United States. And, I was probably really self-serving, but I asked the oncologist on Monday, well, what happens if I get through this year and it hasn't completely gone away? How do I get the drug? Well, you can't really. He said, unfortunately, you won't be able to. He said, once the trials are done, it usually takes 2 to 3 years for the FDA to approve it if the results are fine. But for right now, I'm a happy camper. Stuff's going away. I feel great. I work out every day.
Hey, Richie, we got to call some of our old Lansdowne buddies to go and sneak into that vault for that drug if you need it after this first year.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. And
so Richie, let me take you back into the clinical trial. So with the ingestion of the pill for 27 days straight in a month, that's the first month. What do you have to do the second, third? Like, now you're in the 3rd month. Do you have to do any pills now?
It repeats the same cycle.
Oh, okay.
Day 1, I get the infusion.
Okay.
And I take 27 days of pills, and it continues. And then throughout, they test you with blood work. They test you with EKGs. They've done that extensively to make sure that my body is handling the pills and what we're doing. And so they monitor you consistently throughout each month as you're doing this.
So you've had bladder cancer that metastasized throughout your body, various chemo treatments, radiation, and immunology. And throughout this, you said since 2013 that you've keeping active and exercising. What exactly? Because HEALED is all about the research that's being done in Atlanta is health and energy through active living every day. As a survivor, most people, Dr. Erika Rees-Punia told us, Rich, that 75% of people diagnosed with cancer after treatment don't get off the couch and do enough.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So, at one point with some of the chemo treatments, I lost 40 pounds and I was not feeling very good at all. And I didn't do much in the way of working out. But when my health was okay, I do light weights every day. I ride a bicycle for 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And that's what I do. And they encourage you. My doctors have encouraged me to exercise as much as I can. And Pat, I wanted to mention also to you that, here's my magic pill.
Please.
Here's my magic formula for people that have cancer that's worked for me. Some people, I'm sure, get cancer and they get scared to death and they figure my life's over. I have never, ever, ever thought that way. Even from the very first moment that I was diagnosed with this, my wife and I were driving back from Johns Hopkins, and she said, "You're going to beat this. We're just going to continue with our lives." So my formula is, you've got to be positive throughout this entire experience. You definitely have to be positive. My second thing is, and I'm a very religious guy, is you got to rely on God and Jesus, the Blessed Mother, and others, and pray to them to help you. And thirdly, you have to rely on your family, your wife, people to help you. And then fourthly, also rely on numerous other people that are your friends, associates, that to let them know that you have cancer. And I can't tell you, Pat, how many people have reached out to me to offer to help, to drive me to Baltimore, to do whatever I need, bring meals to my house, that sort of thing. And then the other thing is to stay active in your life, in your profession. So all throughout all of this, I never stopped working.
Oh, wow.
I'm a career coach. I coach people that have lost jobs and help them get another job, mostly with senior executives. And I've continued to do that throughout.
What company do you work with?
I work with two companies. One's called Barton Career Advisors, and the other is called Career Curve.
Because who, if they were looking for a job, a career search, wouldn't want someone like you who never says no and just continues to plow on? You would be my coach.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. And I'm very proud to indicate that everybody I work with lands a job. So, but they do the work. I just guide them through the process.
Just like your oncologist is doing to you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then in addition to that, Pat, I've always had a part of my life, just like you're helping us all out with this HEALED initiative, to help people. And that's taken various forms in my life, but I've been on the board of Catholic Charities. I've been the chairman of Catholic Charities across the state of Delaware for a good number of years. It was really ironic. A friend of mine asked me to join the American Cancer Society leadership team of Delaware, and I joined it. And 3 months later, my cancer came back.
Oh, wow.
So I've been on the ACS leadership team in Delaware for a few years now, and enjoy that experience. And just had a call this morning about that in terms of how to help people in Delaware with transportation and lodging and screening and things of that nature to help them either avoid cancer or help them deal with it when they have cancer.
So, Rich, you talked about mind, body, spirit, and all of your 5 components of your secret formula. Can I just touch on that active living relative to your diet, since we have Dr. Jeannie Suebach on as well? What is your diet consist of?
Well, I rely on my wife, quite honestly, for my diet. So she has books on what to eat when you have cancer. And
what is her name?
Judy.
Judy,
and then she's so she does that all the time, looking in the book, picking up different recipes, cooking different meals. I wanted to tell Dr. Jeannie too that soup is my favorite food. I pretty much have soup almost every day for lunch. And well,
stay there. This is good. Jeannie, Dr. Jeannie Suebach, come on back on. This is too good now. There she is.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I have soup every day, and pretty much, and some of it is canned, and some of it's when my wife makes soup. But I've always enjoyed it, and you mentioned chicken noodle soup. I remember being a little kid, and my mother and my grandmothers would always say, "Eat chicken noodle soup if you're not feeling good. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to help you." And I got hooked on chicken noodle soup, so I eat a lot of that.
Yes.
I have the vegetable soup. One of my favorite soups is probably not the best from your perspective, Jeannie, but it's broccoli cheddar. I love broccoli cheddar soup and many other soups.
So, you know what, Rich, don't worry about that. There's a recipe for broccoli cheddar that's lower in fat, using low-fat dairy products, and you're still going to get the wonderful properties of the broccoli, because the broccoli is that cruciferous vegetable. So let's make a positive out I'll find a low-fat broccoli cheddar soup, and I will get it to your wife so you can eat that.
Right. And then my wife repeatedly, and I'm not the best with this, but she's all, explained to me that when you're suffering from cancer, other than dark chocolate, sugar's not good for you. So that was a hard thing for me to give up candy or pastries or cupcakes or things of that nature. So I still eat a little bit of that stuff, but she really monitors it pretty closely. She won't let me go overboard with it at all. And I've learned to do that. And also another part from a dietary standpoint, in the treatments that I'm having right now and throughout a lot of this, I was told by my doctors, especially in this clinical trial, that I cannot drink alcohol.
Oh,
I'm not allowed to have any alcohol. So one of the pleasant experiences about this is I've learned a lot about non-alcoholic beers and non-alcoholic wine. And, you can still enjoy things like that, even though they don't have alcohol in them.
Yes.
So
Rich, are there any other restrictions to your diet based on the clinical studies?
no restrictions whatsoever on my diet. None.
So, Rich, I have a couple tips for you. You mentioned dark chocolate. Have you ever tried dark chocolate paired with prunes? It's a weird combination.
No, I haven't. No.
But when I used to do some private consultations, that would be a snack that we would give people in the evening. It'd be 1 square of the dark chocolate and 3 prunes. So the prunes are like magical antioxidants, so great for you. And then the dark chocolate, that's something you can try. And another one, have you ever tried banana whip? Have you ever been on Ocean City's boardwalk?
Yeah, I grew up on the Jersey coast. So.
Okay, so Bashful Banana has banana whip. And all it is, it's banana that goes through this machine. You can buy a machine, it's called the Yonanis machine, that you take your frozen bananas, you put it in, and I tell you, it tastes like ice cream. People are blown away. Absolutely.
Wow. My daughter, she loves when she comes up, she loves to make healthy smoothies for me to drink. So
there you go. Now, Rich, you're talking Jeannie's language. Soup and smoothies. She's the queen.
Yes. Well, no, I like green drinks. I don't like smoothies. I like to
Sorry.
Yeah. So try that, Rich. And, you can email me. I can give you the links to that. That is something that it's magic. People they call it nice cream, but it's wonderful. I share that a lot.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So, Rich, Diana has viewers with questions, but before we allow Diana to come back, do you have any questions specifically for yourself from Dr. Jeannie Suebach?
No, Jeannie, what are the 4 or 5 foods that you should absolutely avoid when you have cancer?
Definitely processed meats, so like the sausages and the bacons and the processed lunch meats, I would say that I would want to go away for. Things that you mentioned, the alcohol, we really don't want to do the alcohol. The processed sugars, like the sugars are not really going to be that great for that. Other than that, I'm thinking like fruits, vegetables, whole grains. That's what we want to do. Things that we should avoid, processed meats, the alcohol, the sugars, and then the highly processed foods. So I only gave you 4.
That's okay. That's great. Thank you.
How about the sodium?
Yeah, dietary guidelines that everybody should be following. We want to try to have as low a sodium diet as possible. And that means no processed foods, like limited your processed foods, because that's really where it comes from.
Beautiful. Okay, Diana, come on and join the party.
Hi, Pat.
Hello, girl.
Okay, Dr. Subach, we always have questions for you. The first question, and this is actually my question. Okay. What is the purpose of the bay leaf in soup?
Flavor. And if the cook doesn't take it out and you get it in your soup, it tastes horrible, but it's good luck.
Okay. I've always wondered that. What is the purpose of the bay leaf? Okay, next question for you, Dr. Subach. What is your favorite soup recipe and why?
My favorite soup, it has to be my new chicken noodle soup recipe. That's my new one. before it would be my cabbage potato soup.
Okay. Very
So are
good.
we going to be able to get your chicken noodle soup recipe to our gathering?
I sure can. If Diana can get it out there, I sure can.
Share it with me and I can
And
get it
if
there.
you can post it on the Facebook page or on however acshealed.com.
Sure.
Anyway,
I'll give you two versions. I'll give you the easy version and I'll give you the nice version, but they're both delicious.
Perfect. Perfect. And Rich, I have a question for you. You mentioned before that you had pretty severe neuropathy with your chemo drug that you were taking. Now that you're in the clinical trial and on different medications, how is the neuropathy? Is it better? And what are you having any side effects from your current treatment?
No, the neuropathy has pretty much stayed the same. I have a little problem with stability and balance. I was with a cane for quite a while. I've learned to move around without the cane, but I still couldn't walk like long distances or that sort of thing. I mean, I don't have a lot of strength and there's not a lot of feeling in my feet, but it has not gotten any worse. It just pretty much stays the same. And I've tried some therapy. I went through therapy, which helped give me strength in my legs, but it really didn't impact reducing the neuropathy at all. And I haven't really found a secret formula and no one's been able to tell me anything that I can do to really make the neuropathy better.
Okay. And Rich, another question for you. Back in the beginning of your story, you talked about the fact that you were having a lot of issues with your bladder infection, which you thought it was, and you decided to make a change and go to Johns Hopkins for treatment. What advice do you have for people who may be in a similar situation where they know something's not right and they just don't feel like they're getting anywhere? What would be your advice? Because you took the step to take a chance and go to a different team for treatment. What is your advice for someone who may be in that same situation?
I would say if you have something like that I experienced, that, I mean, at least in my mind, in this region, the two best hospitals are Penn and Johns Hopkins, and University of Pennsylvania and Johns Hopkins. And I actually reached out to a friend of mine, a neighbor, when this wasn't getting any better. And he had cancer of the throat that was undiagnosed. And he actually went to Johns Hopkins and they treated him and it was untitled. They had never seen this cancer before, and they kept him alive for 15 years. So he said to me, boy, you need to get to a good place. And he recommended that I go to Johns Hopkins. So I then started on a path to get there. And what I found is, at least with the world-class people that are helping me, I had to send in all of my medical records. If it was just a routine thing like prostatitis, they were like, just stay with your local area. But if you've got something that, you can't resolve, they eventually said, we'll see you. Mm-hmm. And I said this earlier, and I got there, and they did a biopsy, and within 10 days, they knew that I had a very aggressive cancer. And I can't say enough about the difference between, at least from my perspective, when you get into a world-class hospital. I mean, I have a world-class urologist and an oncologist, and they are unbelievable. I have their cell phones. They will answer me literally no matter what's going on. If I have a problem, they will answer me typically within 15 minutes to 30 minutes on anything. And I've never had that experience with anybody medically in my life. And I can't speak highly enough about them. I did say this earlier. I don't think I would be alive today if I wasn't under the treatment with these people at Johns Hopkins.
And why don't you give them a shout out? Who are these doctors?
My oncologist is Dr. Noah Hahn, and my urologist is Dr. Jasek Mostwin. And really, really great guys. Little sideline, but Dr. Mostwin is working with Oxford University to put together a library of tens of thousands of cases of people from all over the world that have dealt with diseases that were supposedly incurable, but how they managed to deal with that and how they're still alive today. And I had him up. I'm on the leadership team of the American Cancer Society, and he's been connected with them. He's trying to finalize his work that's being done. And part of his work is and to teach doctors around the world how important the doctor-patient relationship is and how important that is for the patient to keep a positive attitude. It's not just always about the medical things that need to be done. A lot of it's about the relationship and the positive attitude and feeling like you're making progress and those kinds of things.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Diana, how many of our 40 gatherings is this common theme that Rich is displaying, this self-advocacy, this if you don't feel right, and if you don't feel the treatment plan is working for you, take action. How many, isn't that just kind of like a common theme of people like Rich that have seen the benefits of staking out their own claim that you can get a second opinion? It's okay, right, Rich?
Yeah, absolutely. And without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. That really is a theme that we have so many times. Some of the cancers were found through just the tenacity of the patient, because doctors, I mean, they can't know everything for everybody all the time. So it really is important to know your body and not be afraid to ask questions of your doctor and get it, like you said, get a second opinion when you think it's necessary. Absolutely. I do have one more question for Rich. I know that you took part in the Real Men Wear Pink campaign in Delaware. Shameless plug for our Real Men Wear Pink campaign. Tell us about that experience.
It was fabulous. I mean, first of all, I wanted to say, I've been on a number of nonprofit boards, and I am not one of these people that likes to sit on a board and nod my head. I like to do stuff. So when I got on the American Cancer Society leadership team and I heard about this Real Men Wear Pink thing, I was like, boy, that sounds fun. So I just engaged in it, and I got people that knew me and Rotary friends and others. And, I got some pink clothing, and my daughter-in-law she bartends occasionally. So I talked to her, and she was like, well, let me talk to the owner of this bar in Delaware. He'll probably let you host something there. So I had a night at his bar, and it was broadcast out to a lot of my friends. A lot of people showed up, and all, just in tips that night, just in tips from one night, we brought in like $1,200.
Wow.
Just in tips from people at the bar. But it was a lot of fun, and there are campaigners, Real Men Wear Pink campaigners that do this all over the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's done every year, and it's a significant fundraising initiative for the American Cancer Society. It's a lot of fun.
Wonderful.
So I like to ask Jeannie, on a scale from 1 to 10, Jeannie, we're talking about soups today. Where does a soup land on your healthy diet on a scale from 1 to 10?
It depends on the soup. I would say it's up there.
Well, your soups, the soups that you recommended today.
My soups, I'm going to say an 8. And that would just be because of the sodium content.
I gotcha.
That's right. What other nutrients?
I know we're not on the subject, but what would be a 10?
Oh, my cabbage potato soup.
Oh, so a soup would be a 10 though on a healthy diet.
Yes, I would say so.
Your soup, your recipe for a soup would be, you would consider that a 10 if you ate this soup.
If it's made with low sodium and water, yes.
That's important to qualify. No, that's really good. That's what we're doing here, because people say, here's soup, and you heard it, the French cheese. What was that cheese soup where the bread's, floating?
The French onion soup.
Yeah, that one. It looks great, but boy, oh boy.
Oh yeah, it's you feel. Yeah, I mean, some people are salt sensitive. That when they have a bowl of soup, they feel that the rings get tight, and that's just the sodium, the balance and electrolyte balance in the body. And just drink some fluid, and But again, if you're having soup, go lower sodium for the rest of the day. But my tomato soup, I would have to say, I'm going to take it back. My tomato soup with the whole plum tomatoes, that's something. That's something.
You get a grilled cheese with it?
You can do a grilled. I love a story about a grilled cheese for another day. But yes, you can a grilled cheese on a really nice whole grain bread. I made it the other day, and my son-in-law was like, "Does it have to have seeds in it?" No seeds. So, but yes,
That's wonderful. That just sounds scrumptious.
yes.
Jeannie,
So-
Mustard.
Go ahead, Diane.
I have a quick question, Jeannie. It's not necessarily a soup, but what are your thoughts of a vegetarian chili?
Oh, I love vegetarian chili. That would be a 10.
Okay.
That would be a 10 because you have your carrots. You start with your mirepoix. You have
Right.
that. I'm a big carrot person. I like to put sweet potatoes in my chili, in my vegetarian chili, and then as many beans as possible. That's great. And if you want to use a little ground chicken, a little ground turkey, that's a great way too. And especially, Super Bowl Sunday's coming up.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be a disaster.
Right.
Super Bowl Sunday coming up, have soup. You serve soup and serve the veggie chili or the chicken chili. That would be great. We do know that the ground beef, it is a red meat, and we do want to stay away from that. But have a beautiful salad, and you have hummus as the appetizer. Everybody likes fruit. Everybody likes the fruit. You can get the Yonanas and make the banana whip. We have had banana whip bars for birthday parties that you have the banana whip. You have all the different toppings. Most of them are fresh fruits and coconut and nuts. You can do that. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Rich, in 30 seconds, share with us your secret formula once again that you've personally experienced.
Yeah, so number one would be a positive attitude throughout.
Yeah.
Number two would be reaching out to God and praying. And number three would be getting help from your family.
Yes.
And number four would be getting help from your personal friends. And number five would be staying active and staying active with working out and staying active with your profession, whatever it is that you do. And you can continue to lead a good life. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is that I didn't before, is I recall when I was in the depths of this, in the depths of chemo and really feeling bad, my family surprised me with a gathering of the living. And what they did is they invited all of my close friends and colleagues and surprised me with this. And it was one of the greatest pick-me-ups, if you will.
And I know a lot of your crew, so that would pick anyone up. Rich, I want to thank you, Rich Kolodgie. Thank you for sharing your story and experience. Diana, with your questions. Dr. Jeannie Suebach, every month, thank you for coming back. All of you, thank you for joining us today on our ACS Healed Gathering. And we end each one with one of Rich's 5 secrets, and that is a prayer. But it's not even a prayer petition. It's a prayer of thanks, an attitude of gratitude. Thank you for allowing me to witness what is happening right now. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Peace.